I was always very hard on myself growing up. I was a perfectionist. I was empathic, still am. And so there were a lot of times that I would feel like, things were my fault because, like I said, I had I was privy to information, or, I just assumed that everybody kind of felt the way that I did and took personal responsibility the way that I did.
Sun is coming up, are you ready to go? We can take a ride, we can take it slow, yo.
Well, welcome back to the show. Amanda Hainline is here with us, and I'm so excited to chat with you about one of my favorite topics, negative self-talk.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one. And so many people do it. And then
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Well, before we hop into the juicy conversation, I believe that self-love is the devotion to your individuality, like what makes you you. So I'd love to know, who are you, what makes you you, and how do you want the people to know you?
Well, I'm an intuitive healer, and I had a spiritual awakening about 15 years ago that hit me out of nowhere. I was not seeking anything other than not being depressed and not being just sad and miserable, and I had this energy work session that blew everything wide open and turned my life upside down.
Can you kind of shine light a little bit more on that part of your journey? Because I think it's going to be really healing for a lot of our listeners.
Sure. So I was raised in the Southern Baptist Church, and growing up, I would have premonition dreams. And I had one of a plane crash. I had one of, my sister's car accident. There were never anything happy, like, wow, you're going to get your favorite toy in the mail next week. It was never anything like that. It was always like these tragic things.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I've never had experiences like that, but I, as like a young child experiencing that and not really knowing what to do with it. And I think that a lot of people fall into this like blame game or blaming themselves for things that really have nothing to do with them. Like, how did you eventually navigate your outside of like removing the blame from yourself and just saying, this is something that's happening for me?
Right. So that was definitely a process because it was a lot of trauma, had a lot of trauma around, especially that experience of, seeing that earthquake and then it happening and really blaming myself for that. And it took me a while to get to the place of understanding that everything happens for a reason and everyone has their own unique path. So just because I'm being told something, or I'm privy to information, like say someone's getting a car accident or someone's going to get sick or, someone's going to die, and there's nothing I can do about that to help them. It took a while to get to a place of surrender with that because when you're given that information, you feel compelled to do something about it. Well, I got to fix it. It's like, there's nothing to fix. Everything is perfect and everybody has their own path, and you have to honor that because sometimes they'll say, oh, they're going to have this happen to them. Don't tell them. And I'm like, why did you tell me then? And so it's just, I can sometimes when I'm working with somebody say, if I get a piece of information, they're like, don't tell them. I can kind of help them gain a different perspective so that when that does present itself, whatever the situation is, say it's a car accident or a health issue or whatever, that they have a different perspective going into the situation.
I really like that approach, and your clients are very, very lucky to have someone who's willing to guide them and help reframe a situation that on the outside could be viewed as very, very negative. So it's beautiful that you have that gift. I'd love to transition into the real conversation that I'm so excited to have with you. I always get so into the backstories of my guests, but I really want to talk about negative self-talk because this is, on the road to self-love. We talk about this a lot, and it's a really foundation of like ditching that negative self-talk, allowing yourself to show up but first acknowledge that it's happening. So, what made you feel inspired to write an entire book about this?
I feel like a lot of people struggle with it. I was always very hard on myself growing up. I was a perfectionist. I was empathic, Still am. And so there were a lot of times that I would feel like, things were my fault because, like I said, I had I was privy to information, or, I just assumed that everybody kind of felt the way that I did and took personal responsibility the way that I did. And when people didn't, when they acted outside of what I felt was a normal scope, turns out I was kind of the anomaly in this world, in the situation. The book, I talk about, how traumas are connected together, how emotions are connected together with experiences, and why it's important to understand that path, because we may be triggered with anxiety or depression or negative self-talk, that kind of thing. And when we're triggered with it, sometimes we don't realize where it's coming from. We just say, oh, that's who I am. I'm just a negative person, or I'm just depressed, or I'm just in not understanding that those are emotions and energies that you're supposed to move through and not carry on as your identity. So I think that's also part of negative self-talk, is just understanding that, where it's coming from and why you're doing it. So that's part of the awareness, for sure.
So what do we do once we identify it? Like, if you have the awareness that you're speaking negatively about yourself, what's the next step?
Evaluating it, looking at catching yourself, once you're aware and you start having the thoughts of, well, that was a stupid thing to do, or I can't believe I did that, or if I just done this or that, it's like, okay, just stop and really evaluate. Ask yourself, would you say this to somebody else?
I'm curious, like, have you gotten to a point in your life where you just have ditched the negative self-talk always and you never run into it?
I would say largely yes, but I definitely have those days when I am like, I suffer from migraines, so I may have a migraine that lasts for 3 days and I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm so lazy that I haven't done this or that. And I was like, wait, stop. No, I haven't been feeling well. And it may take a little time for me to get back to things. And I think really honoring the flow of life has really helped negate my self-talk a lot.
Well, I hope that if you're listening to this, you're hearing this, that you have two experts in the field of self-love and compassion and confidence who still struggle with negative self-talk every once in a while. So stop comparing yourself to us. We're not perfect.
Exactly. Yes. Please do not do that.
Oh man. Well, I'm just curious, because I love to just like pepper in random questions. I'm curious, what's the best mistake you've ever made?
We hired somebody and she didn't work out. And it was just, understanding why it didn't work out, understanding, not going, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just quit on us. And I'm so frustrated and angry with her and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, knowing where she was in her life, understanding that I wasn't in a place of clarity that I should have been to be hiring a person for the position I was looking for, that kind of stuff. So it caused me to get more clear with my intentions and say, okay, now this is what I know that I want.
I want you to tell the audience all about your book. Like, give us the download, like who's it written for, like all of the juicy goodness.
All right. Awesome. So it's called Feel Better in 5 Minutes, an empowering guide to gain control over your emotions. And when I started the book, I actually started during the pandemic, because I had a lot of people on my Instagram page and on my Facebook that were saying, all I feel is fear. I'm so scared. I don't know what's happening. They're really empathic. And they said, I just want to stay in my house and not go anywhere, which was, maybe that was the best thing for a while for everybody, for safety or whatever. But at the same time, it was really debilitating for people. And so I thought, well, I'll just write this little like informative thing that's 3 pages long. And yeah, that's good enough. And the more I wrote, the more I went, this is a book. Oops, I just started a book. So I started pulling out all my old client stories and really digging into what I wanted the book to be about, because I do a lot of really different kinds of energy work and different levels of energy work. And I thought I want it to be something that anybody can pick up and be actionable with.
I want to kind of like zoom out a little bit, because I feel like trauma is such a buzzword right now. And I'm really curious to understand, like, what is your definition of trauma?
Trauma can come in several different ways, but it's really something that changes the course of how you think about yourself. It changes the course of your life in some way. It changes your belief system, either about yourself or about the world. It puts a different filter on you. And depending on the trauma, depends on how it affects you.
So I'm going to switch gears right now. We're going to play our first road trip game. I just pulled a card from the healing edition of We're Not Really Strangers, and I'm going to ask this question, and both of us are going to answer it. So the question is, what do you need right now more than anything?
I need organization. If I'm being completely honest, I need to get things organized. I am all over the place. I'm a little ADD and I've got a lot of exciting things going on. And I just kind of tend to run around like a puppy sometimes, doing little bits and pieces of things. So organization and support, honestly. I've got a lot of support from my husband. I'm very, very lucky. I've got a great team that I'm building. But organization is something that's like, wow, it's something that doesn't really come naturally to me consistently, I would say. So yeah, that's a big thing.
Well, I'm going to answer that what I need right now is more than anything is like, I've gone through like a period of rest, like for the past, I don't know, 3 months. I've been really resting, and now I like need a little bit of like excitement. I'm kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum than you. I don't have a lot of exciting new projects going on. Like it's like the same stuff that I've been doing, which I'm grateful for. I love doing what I'm doing, but I'm ready for a little excitement here. This has been such a joy, such an amazing conversation. I really love all of the pieces that you've kind of thrown at us, and the reframing of trauma and how to start unpacking the negative self-talk. Really, really beautiful. And I encourage anyone who's listening to definitely go check out her book. We will have it linked in the show notes. And I just have a couple of more questions for you, though. I ask this question to every single person on the road. What does self-love mean to you?
Self-love means really a level of acceptance inside that permeates everything else. It allows you to have a level of acceptance of not only yourself, but kind of everything around you. Because when you love yourself, everything else is easier. It's easier to accept how other people act. It's easier to accept how other people situations that happen with other people or, at work or whatever it is. It's like when you love yourself, you're not looking outside of yourself for answers. You're looking inside. And if something happens on the outside of yourself, you can weather that storm really well. And so that's what self-love is, really having a high level of acceptance for yourself and just really having that love that's just, it's unshakable for you. So.
I love that. Well, where can people find you if they are #obsessed and want to know all of the things and follow you and all that goodness?
Well, you can look me up on Instagram at AK Hainline, and that's AKHAINLINE, or AmandaHainline.com. And I've got all the goodies on there as far as what I'm up to and when things are coming out. The book's going to be out. The ebook release is September 6th. I'm very excited. So, and then the physical book release is on the 16th. So Amazing. It's coming up. I'm just thrilled. Super thrilled. And so if you go to my website, you can actually sign up to be on the list to be notified when the book comes out so that you can go get it.
Congratulations. Yeah. So definitely go sign up for her email list or go pick up the book. I think this will be out after the book is out. So you can just go snag it right now. Why wait? You can feel better in 5 minutes. I mean, you spent more time listening to this episode than that. So go do it. And thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time on the road to self-love. Bye.